365 Days of Horsemanship, day 202. I'm quite proud of myself today, actually, that I made it up and I had such good sessions. See what the time is now, and I'll see how long I was actually with the horses. Yeah, so I've been up here just over half an hour, which I'm really pleased with. I had two really good sessions. I actually came up with a little bit of baggage today. I had quite an annoying, frustrating end to my work day, and I brought that with me a little bit. And I really, as I was approaching, was thinking, I don't want to bring this energy with me. I just really need to just like let it go. Just really feel like this last few days, I really feel like the work I've been doing with the horses, and I would say the phrase breath work is kind of synonymous, where a lot of the time I've been working with the horses and counting breaths in a way that I don't think I've ever done as consistently or as well before. And it's definitely helping me feel like I'm in a real rhythm. I'm still working on just encouraging the focus changes, noticing and reacting to focus changes. And I came to Mia first. Mia was eating, just eating the grass. And initially on approach, she did look up at me. And so I found my little place. I was kind of at like a short distance from her. And I was again playing with 8 breaths of flow before moving into supportive leadership. She did a few focus changes, actually, 2 or 3 focus changes before I got to 8 breaths. So I was able to move to a new place of flow each time. And then one of the other horses came up close to her, and I just come out of flow. I just done my 8 breaths, and I was actually going to try the touching distance and perhaps just stroke down her back and just be a bit supportive around her. And this other horse came up and actually moved her off. And I could see she got a bit frightened and tense, and then moved off around him. And then, when I went back to try to touch the same spot, she like immediately started moving. And I had to then circle around again, do a big circle. And I came back and just hovered my hand over that area, took 1 breath, and then moved on to the next spot. And I felt a little breath from her, but I could also tell that the way she was eating had changed, and she'd gone from this like relaxed eating to this more like stressed, tense eating. And so I went back into supportive leadership, walking around her, just really waiting for a good moment. This horse came to approach again. And I just stopped being flow. I think I'd just seen her breathe out, or something had happened, and I'd gone back into flow, and this other horse approached again. And I decided that actually I was going to interrupt this horse this time and protect her bubble a little bit, which is more dominant, but it felt like the right thing to do. And I just came to this horse, and he's actually quite dominant. And so I basically just guided his neck around, and he was quite like, trying to get away from me, until he did eventually yield, and went kind of off in the other direction. And so then I settled back into another place of flow with her. And interestingly, after that, she started walking quite a lot more with me, which was nice. We walked a couple of times. I'd take a few breaths still in that place of flow, and then we'd walk for a few steps. And then she'd go back to eating, and then we'd walk again for a few steps. And she came to settle kind of near this other horse, and they felt like they were in quite a harmonious position together, kind of grazing in the same direction. And she did a little sigh, and so I left it there. And it felt good because I felt like I had interacted with this other horse when I had moved him in quite a positive way. I would say I was in very low physical pressure, insistent leadership, where it was almost play, where I was just like coming underneath his chin, and he's like trying to get away, and I'm just coming underneath his chin, and just not giving up until he did yield around and stop trying to move the other way. And it just felt like really positive, really gentle. I didn't feel like he was offended at all. And I also felt like it had been a positive interaction for Mia to be there for, and also, you know, I felt like it helped her feel less stressed. I felt like her stress levels were coming down when I was leaving her. I think it would have been nice to stay longer, but also, you know, I've had a really long day at work. A friend of mine is in town, and I really want to catch up with them. And so I kind of just really gave myself a pat on the back for having had a good session, went to see Lawrence. With Lawrence, it was an interesting session, actually. We ended up doing quite a lot of itching. I initially came and he... I actually had quite bad timing on approach. Quite bad feel, actually. It wasn't timing, it was a feel problem. He was grazing with another horse who is quite afraid of humans, quite afraid of being caught. And I came around, he was grazing and the other horse was grazing next to him, and I actually came around the side of this other horse looking for my place of flow, and I shouldn't have done that, because what I actually ended up doing was trapping this other horse between Lawrence and me, and making him feel quite claustrophobic. And as I came around, he panicked and moved away, and actually I should have had better feel and come around the other side. I think I didn't notice him until too late, but I can't really use the dark as an excuse. I think it's quite possible I'd have done that in the light as well. So I just need to learn from that and have better feel next time, because I think it's just a really bad introduction to the session, and also it's just a bit rude to this other horse. So yeah, so then I got settled in with Lawrence. Found a nice place of flow, and he looked up at me and came over to greet me, which was like, oh, that's nice. He walked past me without touching his nose to my hand and presented me with his bum for scratches. And I thought, well, I find that a little bit offensive. It's not how I'd like to be greeted, so I'm just going to walk past it, walk around it and come back and offer that nose touch again, which I did. He then gave me the nose touch, although he did seem a little bit disengaged, and so I went to start scratching him. He then wanted scratches like underneath the rug, up his dorsal line on like his thoracic spine area, but I couldn't get there unless I unhooked the straps from the rug. So I did that, and then was able to get underneath, keeping the rug on, but just with those belly straps loose so that I could scratch underneath. It's not something I'd recommend with every horse. I certainly wouldn't recommend it in the wind. But with Lawrence, myself in this position, the way that we were, I was happy with that. So it's a little disclaimer for everybody. Yeah, and so I'm scratching his dorsal line. That's all kind of going quite nicely. He has a nice lick and chew, so I stop. We have a minute of flow. And then he comes to me, starts backing up into me, and actually stands on my foot. So I get my foot out and I go for a nice long walk around. I come back and I nose touch again, and I go to do my scratches. We have another nice lick and chew moment. And I'm walking around to find a new place of flow. And he backs his bum into me and like bumps me with his hind end. I'm thinking, oh my goodness. So off I go again, and I walk around in an even bigger circle this time, and I come back and I do my scratches. And I'm scratching. And in the middle of that, I've done the straps back up after the last time that we'd felt better. And he'd kind of done a little bit of wiggling there. And I think I could have read that actually sooner as him not being finished with those scratches. But I also knew that my personal max capacity was quite low, and I didn't want to get stuck in a situation where my energy would turn, especially because I felt like there was this definite challenge from him where I was noticing a lot of more dominant behaviors where he was expecting a lot from me and not necessarily always being polite about it, or not always necessarily, I would say, being direct. I don't think he would notice or feel that he's being rude, and I certainly don't think he's doing that on purpose, but just lots of requests and demands of me, and knowing that I needed to make sure that I was also looking after myself. So I'd done up the straps. He then bumped me with his bum. I walked around this big circle, came back, did the nose to hand touch again, and then went to scratch his hind end. Scratched there for quite a long time. We had this nice lick and chew. I stopped, I took one breath, and I left. I didn't say goodbye or anything, and actually as I was walking away, I sort of looked back over my shoulder, and he was initially looking off into the distance, and then I looked again and he was grazing. And I felt good, because there was this, I almost felt guilty that I was abandoning him. And then I thought of it in a different way, where I thought, do you know what? Maybe he's just really happy that I didn't stay too long today. And he went, oh, how nice Lucy came and she scratched me. What a nice thing happened. Because that last moment with me has been that moment where he's been learning, feeling good, releasing stress. So it was a good session. I think it also helped me feel more okay with the concept that we're going to do some fitness stuff and I am going to make some demands. Because sometimes now he can be quite demanding. And I think I allow him to have that space to do that now, which is great. And that's definitely what I want. I don't want to take that away from him. But I think it just makes me feel like there's a little bit of wiggle room, as I talked about yesterday, for an allowance. You know, I feel like I put some money in the bank today. And it's okay, actually, for me to take a little bit of that out and spend it on something that I feel is going to be beneficial for both of us, which is him being, you know, having some physical fitness. So that was good. That was really good. I think it was a real eye-opening session for me, to see him in a more dominant frame of mind, and not to see him, I think, as this, like, you know, withering wallflower all the time, because I don't think that's actually the reality of the situation. And I think that it's helped me to feel more confident about meeting him more as an equal, and being okay with there being a little bit more give and take in that way in the relationship, and learning how to reapproach that from a more respectful and respectful and reasonable way. I think now I'm in a place where I can really start to make demands that are fair and reasonable, and enjoyable and less stressful for us all. So I feel really good about that, definitely. I'm really proud of myself that I came. I feel like it was a really useful session with both horses. I feel that it was productive and it was worth having. And yeah, I'm really enjoying actually this way of being with the horses these last few days that I've had, where I've just been really concentrating on counting my breaths. I've really enjoyed it, got a lot out of it.